minute them but raise the budget. PNM government them unfit. Suffer poor people in pandemic. PNM government them unfit. Give we 2% then they laugh at it. PNM government them unfit. Them unfit. PNM feel they bright. They can win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Me stupid advice. Shampa coach to them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Rowley. Come down, come down. UNC in tongue, in tongue. Faris, come down, come down. UNC in tongue, in tongue. Rohan, come down, come down. UNC in tongue, in tongue. Imbut, come down, come down. UNC in tongue, in tongue. PNM feel they bright. They can win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Take me stupid advice. Shampa coach to them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there. I just want to warn you before the mixing would concern you. They went like keto and one voodoo for the people and them to vote you. On the IG post you look nice. 1 million followers, 1 million likes. In the grocery the food price high. Give we 2% and feed we with lie. That man can mama. PNM feel the bright. They can win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Take me stupid advice. Shampa go to them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Rowley, a dog. Low high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Faris, come down, come down. Imbut, come down, come down. UNC in tongue, in tongue, in tongue, in tongue, in tongue. I don't want to leave you on top the horse. I need you to come down here for me now. You're claiming PNM them is boss, but look how high the crime rate is now. PNM feel the bright. They can win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Take me stupid advice. Shampa go to them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there. I just want to warn you before the mixing would concern you. They went like keto and one voodoo for the people and them to vote you. On the IG post you look nice. 1 million followers, 1 million likes. In the grocery the food price high. Give we 2% and feed we with lie. That man can mama guy. You feel it too bright. Yeah, we need election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Take me stupid advice. Calling in with them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there. Hands up where you come down. You're going on the beat up to mama guy, poor people. Good you get wet down. Shampa always in a zest. Least post development in a mess. Come and get the government credit card arrest. Remember when you buy all the wig and dress? Comments a million, see here check. Tell the people them how you get it. PNM government them unfit. Every minute them would raise the budget. PNM government them unfit. Suffer poor people in pandemic. PNM government them unfit. Give we 2% then they laugh at it. PNM government them unfit. Them unfit. PNM feel they bright. They can win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Take me stupid advice. Shampa coach to them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Rowley, come down, come down. UNC in tongue, in tongue. Faris, come down, come down. UNC in tongue, in tongue. Rohan, come down, come down. UNC in tongue, in tongue. Imbut, come down, come down. UNC in tongue, in tongue. PNM feel they bright. They can win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Take me stupid advice. Shampa go to them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there. I just want to warn you before the mixing would concern you. They went like keto and one voodoo for the people and them to vote you. On the IG post you look nice. 1 million followers, 1 million likes. In the grocery the food price high. Give we 2% and feed we with lie. That man can mama. PNM feel the bright. They can win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Take me stupid advice. Shampa go to them, they not nice.
Yes, I did, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, or Friends and Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the world wide web, a pleasant good day to you. My apology for that that beginning end, or should I say end that really ought to have been the beginning. But of course, in human circumstance, mistakes are going to be made. And thank God it's not fatalistic. So, of course, it was corrected in due course. So that being as it may, of course, we have a wonderful program for you tonight. And, of course, we continue to treat with the devastation that is the PNM, and the fact that we have to continue, of course, to demonstrate that they were not only unfit for government, were unprepared for government, but also that it was a deliberate ploy, a deliberate plot, a conspiracy to really get into government by fake means, and fake here means all of the nastiness that was said by Dr. Rowley, all of the fake news that was propagated by the propaganda machinery, a bottomless pit of evil, misinformation, disinformation, and clearly all intended to gain government unmeritoriously. And when they would have gotten there, one would have thought that at least you know that you got there by false pretense, by deception, by castigating others and bearing false witness. And at the end of the day, what has happened is that we have seen the inability to manage anything at all, and therefore disaster after disaster. Let's go straight to the lines. I see that someone has already started to call, so let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night, welcome.
Pleasant good night, Mr. Lennox, and pleasant good night to the right-thinking citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. Lennox, I want to say something because people mightn't agree with me with what I'm going to say, but I must say it.
Go ahead, man. This is where the forum for that. One may disagree with you, but we will defend to the hilt your right to speak, because this is a democracy.
All right. Well, I was trying to I listen to you every time you have a program, yes. And last night was Monday Night Forum.
Yes.
Or Monday Night Report, if so to speak.
Yes, as far as the UNC is concerned, right?
Right, yeah.
Right, okay.
So yes. I listened to the UNC Monday Night Report last night.
Yes.
During the course of the day today, right?
Yes.
So I came up, and then I look at Kamala was reading out her plans about when she gets elected, what she would bring back, what steps she will take to take some strain off the citizens' back.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And she make a statement which I have to agree on. And let me tell you why. She said in the last 9 years, we had almost 4,000 something murders.
Yes.
Right? And she said all the National Military Security and past commissioners under the PNM had failed, right?
Yes.
But you remember, when you are fighting an opponent like Dr. Rowley, you have to throw all hats in the ring, because he wouldn't leave no stone unturned to move the goalposts and do it as wicked as he can do it,
yes.
As we have seen right now.
Yes.
So we in the opposition cannot give Dr. Rowley no fuel for the fire.
That's right.
Right? So I listened to Gary Griffith put out a press conference when they join the local election, and she did say he's one of the best commissioner. Yes, it might be so, but under the stewardship of Dr. Rowley, your work would not look good because everything dim under him. So we saying to say, Kamala is not the enemy. Dr. Rowley is. So listening to Kamala last night, honorable distinguished leader, with how she put across her plans, it doesn't necessarily mean, this is to Gary, that she attacking Gary, because Gary is not the enemy in our eyesight. Dr. Rowley is. So when Gary respond today and showing up all kind of stats and all kind of thing, that is not the problem, that is not the issue. So I'm speaking to him to let him know we join in the fight. We're not giving Dr. Rowley administration no credit for nothing. We want him out. And everything he is doing right now, it's not coming from the heart. It's an interior motive. So I say all of that to say to tell Gary Griffith, he don't have to respond to my distinguished leader. He just have to understand that it's politics playing, and according to Ambassador Pandey, politics have a morality of its own. Mr. Lennox, you have a blessed one.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I want to tell you, my friend, go to the top of the class. Even though you have been sparse on details, but clearly it demonstrates a piece of critical analysis that you have applied it to this situation so as to come up to the conclusion that you would have expressed earlier or just now to the international audience that have looked at the corridor transformation for information that is not just truthful but practical, also rational and common sense. And I agree with you. As I did this morning, we had a breakdown in communication this morning on the ground report, so many would not have heard it. But you're quite right in the last part of your presentation, as you did in the first part, and that is Gary Griffith comes across now as too thin-skinned or not analyzing properly simply because he seemed to be engrossed. He seemed to be captivated. He seemed to be saturated. He seemed to be a man who, because he has projected a sense of perfection as far as he is concerned, and somehow anybody that speaks, even though they are speaking the truth, would appear to have tarnished that which he has been projecting as the quintessential individual, the quintessential commissioner of police, the quintessential soldier, on the many jaunts and variations that he would project in the public domain. You have to be short-sighted if you come up, and I have not seen his response, I want to say that, but I on the basis of the last caller, I would not be surprised if he has the correct analysis of Gary Griffith, because he seemed to believe that Kamala Prasad Bissessa clearly was attacking him. It was attack on him. No. Kamala Prasad Bissessa said that he was the fourth in line for Commissioner of Police. And 1, 2, 3 were discarded by Rowley and Day. And because they have the majority in the parliament, they were able to select Gary Griffith as the fourth. That is a fact. While, of course, he would have argued over the time and give the impression that he was designated as number one in the short list. That is not so. That's a fact. So if Kamala Prasad Bissessa said, relating to the incompetence of Rowley, because that is what the essence is, and the attack is on Rowley, to show that he is whimsical, that he was never ready, that he is incompetent and was incompetent, and that is why crime has been at an all-time high, higher than anybody in the past, and I'm sure anybody else in the future other than a PNM government. Of course, we are not looking as yet as to the phenomenon. There's a phenomenon that when the PNM is in government, murders exponentially increases. Rowley would just, of course, dismiss it by saying it's hogwash. But the facts are there, the pellucid facts are there, the statistical facts are there. So it is not right to respond in the way that he did, taking it personal. And is another fact, because I have been talking on the ground report about this, that in 2019 was another record under Gary Griffith as commissioner from the record that was in 2008 under Manning, and of course Rowley being part of that administration and a senior PNM official. So that is another fact. And then of course the other factor that she mentioned that he may that I'm sure that he should have had comfort in, is that Rowley went ahead again and took the number 11 to be commissioner of police today. So he shouldn't take things that serious and see it as an attack on his character, but as a presentation of the facts. But let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. A pleasant good night. Let me just make sure everything is in place. Let me make sure. Yes, everything is in place. A pleasant good night. All right, we seem to have lost that one. We have lost that one. Yes, indeed. So I want to make it clear that Kamala was statistically and factually correct when she made those statements. And Gary Griffith cannot see it as an attack on him because those were the facts. And he cannot try to revise something that really and truly had in fact occurred, which of course was regurgitated by Kamala Persad-Bissessar last night. A pleasant good night, welcome.
Hello, good night, Mr. Lennox Smith.
Good night to you as well, my dear.
I listened to her this morning.
Yes.
And what I understand is she's showing you how he broke the law in picking this woman, this Duncy head earlier. And when you break the law, that is the democracy, you're breaking there by putting a dunce. This woman is not, what I should say, is not Lennox. She illegal, right?
Yeah.
And when he do something like that, he could get sanctioned for that. Gary Griffith was in a lot of hot water with the U.S. They talk direct to the government. He is an official. And he put the country in jeopardy with those two killings, right? The killing of those two men, because the U.S. say they got killed in police custody and he responsible for that. They come and they warn this country about extrajudicial killings, and they warn this country and tell Rowley, if he don't sharpen up on this, they're going to disarm us. That is guns and ammunition. You could remember that, Mr. Lennox Smith?
Yeah. I have not gone there as yet, but I like the fact that you can be as preemptive as you are.
I just be paying attention to a lot of things.
Yes.
I know a lot of things. It's just that it's in the air and everybody know. Good, yes. But I paying attention. I just do my work, right? I just talk about Maduro because people didn't know. I educate plenty on that. I just talk about the OAS, the United Nations. And now, people are aware of these things. If I hadn't tell the country about Nicolas Maduro, they wouldn't be so sharp. Now everybody talking about him. Especially this situation that raised the people talking about him all the time now. So, coming back to Gary Griffith now, right? When Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar decide to join with him, I said, but what it is this lady doing? What it is she doing? That ain't making sense. Because of this man, it have thing hanging here over this country with the U.S. and they're not making joke. And people not paying attention to these things. I didn't say anything. Knowing the man too, right? I say, watch now. This thing ain't gonna last. I ain't saying nothing. I get vexed and I wasn't talking that time for the election. I don't know if all I could remember.
Let's go
So
ahead.
this thing where people still thinking about Gary Griffith and he should be there. Nah, leave him by himself. Leave him by himself. Let him battle. He put this country in trouble. He is one put we in trouble. Rowley putting we in trouble. And I wish Rowley could get out in the next 2 months. Rowley is to come out by force. Rowley should step down. And if Rowley call elections in the next 2 months or so, and there's no observers, you hear? We ask his grass according to you. Mr. Lennox Smith.
Yes.
I really ain't like how you're talking, telling the citizens and more so the activists to write to the Organization of Americas. That is the job of an opposition. The opposition won't look good if they don't do that, If other people tackle that and so it ain't gonna look good, I don't know if you understand how inside of there does function. Yeah.
Hold on. I have another caller on the line.
When a government fail, this government fail us. And when they fail, our opposition supposed to take action. So, I'm asking again for the opposition leader to tackle the OAS. It have 99 complaints she could put against this man inside of there. It getting dangerous inside of here. People getting fed up at the both parties. I don't know if it has been listening to people on the ground. To save this nation, some action had to take place. And in time to come, that same organization will talk out to the two sides, also the US as well. Because you see that stance Rowley and them the government take by not sending, had a representative for the voting in the OAS. They're going to give us some trouble, because the last time when they had not the last time, the first time they had to say something, he tell the nation, he tell everybody he don't want to intervene in that. Right? And they say they don't bong. Dennis Moses said they don't bong. And they told us that if we don't bong, well then we should get out. Right? He want to stay and he want to play the fool. So once, twice, a third time, it gonna have problem this time. It going to have problem. I don't know if people paying attention to the foolishness he doing all the time. Have a good night, Lennox.
Same to you. I agree implicitly with all of, except one, of course, what you would have said. I think he's toying and he's on the fringes of exploiting the patience of institutions such as the OS, and the OS in particular, simply because of its function, purpose, and origins. But I will not accept not encouraging people, individuals, because I gave my own experiences to write. And of course, I have not said that must replace the opposition. I have never mentioned that. In fact, I believe that if I didn't say it expressly or implicitly or lucidly, let me say it now, that the individual approach and expression of concern to these institutions does not take away, does not reduce, does not in any way replace the job or the functions of the opposition to do same as they see fit. So let me be very, very, very clear. But just as I have in my individual capacity, written, of course, and since after the Second World War, and that's a fundamental principle, because Hitler was able to get away with, of course, all of the evil and the exploitation of the population, and the pain and the ache and the agony that he imposed. The United Nations and all its organs recognizes the individual rights, apart from a country's rights, and an opposition right, and a government right. That is fundamental, so that you can make a complaint, and I'm saying that all of us who have the power of the pen and the ability to put sentences together to express our disapproval of the mismanagement, the incompetence, the abuse of office, the use of the police for coercively to force people to do what the government wants illegally. They do not have the right to so to do, but it's about persecution as opposed to prosecution, and the encouragement of ostensible prosecution, as we have seen with this government, to make it look as though, of course, the system is working. The classic example, of course, is the Vincent Nelson matter and the Brent Thomas matter, all of which were initiated, organized, orchestrated, and choreographed by the Rowley administration. Let's not waste time. So I am of the view that individuals must be able to express their concerns, and not necessarily in concert with, but of course in addition to what one expects the opposition to do, and indeed what one expects the government to do. Because when Rowley says, for example, that the opposition wrote to the government in Australia, and the opposition in Australia is a classic case of the government having the right as well to defend their position. And you saw where Rowley wrote to them and clearly and says, well, listen, this is nonsense. This is domestic politics they're trying to express in Australia. And that was the argument. And in case you may not understand, well, the same thing happened with Rowley as opposition leader before the 2015 general elections, you know. He wrote, I'm going to put it up on the screen. He wrote it to the Commonwealth Secretariat. He wrote, of course, to the CARICOM Secretariat asking for independent observers, you know. And claiming in his letter, people, I want only to understand the nature of this man, because I'm saying this merely to demonstrate the nature of the man. And that is what Kamala was bringing out there. His propensity, his proclivity, his predilection for evil and underhandedness, and getting an unfair advantage and moving the goalposts and pretending to forget at one time and then forgetting at another time on the same issue. All of those are part and parcel of his arsenal of what? Of attempting to stay in power. Power mongering. So in Rowley's letter to the Commonwealth Secretariat and the not the US, but the CARICOM Secretariat, he said, I think his clause I think it's 22 clauses in all. I'll pull it up during the course of the program because I think it's important for this discussion. I think it was clause 11 thereabout when he said that this government was prepared to, talking about the Kamala Prasad Bisasa government, was prepared to stay in office, and in the parliament there is also a discussion on she and her government officials attempted to conspiring to kill a journalist. Yes. Yes, he said that in his, man, I'm going to look for it. Just to tell you. So, in such circumstance, they know that is domestic politics, and therefore the Commonwealth nor the CARICOM Secretariat responded to him in the way that he would have liked. All the public tell him that they acknowledge his letter, but they know it's a political season. They know he's vying to, of course, unseat Kamala, and therefore they wouldn't want to get into that. And that is how the mechanism works. And that is why it is left up to the sitting Prime Minister in this particular case and other cases in the past to invite observers, because every single opposition will want to, for whatever reason, because they simply want to unseat the government. But you have to respect the fact that ostensibly they are the elected entity and therefore must be given some degree of what I consider to be flexibility, having regard to human nature. Yes, so call back, sorry about that, but I thought I would have had to consume part of your time in order to explain this, because I think it is very, very important. We are in a crucial period where every single, what I consider to be gray area, must be ventilated. Every gray area, so people understand categorically the role and responsibility. A lot of moving parts, but if we ventilate sufficiently, if we articulate sufficiently, certainly we'll be able, of course, to reach a place of absolute understanding and reasoning. A pleasant good night. A pleasant good night.
Hello, Lennox again.
Yes.
Rowley mad. Rowley mad, long time he always mad. That is a domestic issue, yes. But here, he break the democracy now. That is the OAS business. They don't deal with country where breaking the democracy. That foolishness Kamala showed the nation that he did last night with the merit list and choose he commissioner a police. You break the law bad there. What about the Auditor General? You attacking that office. You controlling the president, the police, all private institution you controlling. You doing like your friend. What about the involvement with this friend, what he have next door there? Nobody likes that man. Look what going on. Beat the iron while it's hot is to put him there all now. Right? You have a border open. Right, wrong, Trinidad and Tobago open. The U.S. talking to you about the gun violence and all of that inside of here. And you still are doing something to protect your citizens. You're supposed to protect your citizens inside of here. And you do business? Something wrong. It have a narco-terrorist man living next door to me, Let me show you something. If all you don't know what is going on, let me show you. We living close to East Venezuela. The whole East Trinidad next to it. That is our address. Right? And all the drugs and things that flow in the eastern part of Venezuela. We even talking Margarita Island. Why? Because all domestic tourism does go down there and international. Right? People don't go Caracas and things. This tourist zone is in the east. That side have all the beaches. It have all the nightlife, tourist life. Right? And all this time here where school closed, is tourists down there like that, like how we Trinidadians just go to Tobago. So it's drugs inside of it. So where the drugs go come to? Not here? All in the Orinoco River coming down from Tocopita. All there is the east. The whole east halfway around Trinidad. Drugs ain't coming here. Guns ain't coming here. The Middle Eastern part is the richest part in the country. And it have plenty oligarchs down there doing this kind of thing. And you have your country open. It's an island, yes, it's separated by water, but it's close. And I will show you something again. The borderlines that close to Venezuela by land, that with Venezuela by land is Brazil. Them Venezuelans ain't going there is our next language. They're hard, so they don't really like going there. Our next place fested with them is Colombia. It have here, where the currency is higher than the Colombian peso. Them Venezuelans learning about here. Life here fast for them than in the borderline town in Colombia. It have who that's just passed through Colombia to go Ecuador, Ecuador further. Right? Argentina and all these places, it don't have the drugs coming in like how it's coming in these borderlines. Colombia, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana is by river. Guyana ain't have it easy with them inside of there, you know. And just imagine them other countries that they have to reach, like Peru, Argentina, where it's not bordering with Venezuela, so they have to go to our next country to reach there. Chile all there. Right? These countries balling for these Venezuelans in the place. Bolivia, Paraguay, El Salvador, Uruguay. Look how far, take the map and see how far they are away from Venezuela. It's these bordering countries, Guyana, Trinidad, Colombia. Study the dollar, study our dollar is higher than these people own. It's money they're looking for inside of here. Some of them come, they come in to make mass fast and get out to try and reach the United States. They ain't going back there, no? They ain't going back there. Who I want to stay here, they're going to the United States. That is the dream. They're risking their life. They cannot afford it while they live in their country to reach there. So they will come places like here, not Guyana. Guyana currency real low. Who go in Guyana? They're going there to stay. Right? So here fast for them. So they're coming to make the big hustle. Right? To work hard, do other things, blah, blah, blah. And they go their way. So all they study, all they head. If other countries complaining, we have to complain too. The opposition, they can't really say they support the opposition. They have to stand and, make a serious stance and say they do not support that fraudulent election. We, the citizens, have to say we do not accept the decision of our government and talk about the hardship we have in here with these people in our place. We want their country to settle so those who want to go back home could go back home because they leave their homes, the children, other family members to come out here to make a sacrifice. And these people, some of them, they really want to go because they have the things there. So this is what we have to do. We can't just accept the shit we're Rowley doing. Okay.
Yes, indeed. And that is where I wanted the conversation to go. I want to tell Mr. Rima, no, go to the top of the class. Because remember, the conversation started off with that you don't want to focus on the individual right, which of course is a discussion by itself, which of course I think I have put in perspective. I see that there is no criticism of it, so therefore it is accepted. But let's go straight to the lines, and let me get back afterwards to where the area where I will classify her as go to the top of the class and giving her that accolade, because there is where the distinction is in terms of the role and function of not just the citizens but also the opposition in the present circumstance, in the unique circumstance of Trinidad and Tobago. But we will extrapolate after the caller. A pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome. Are we getting problem with this caller, boy? I didn't take that long and I didn't interfere with the system. So, caller, call back. But you give me an opportunity, of course, to express why I asked Miss Arima to go to the top of the class. Because there is sufficient objective evidence as opposed to self-serving evidence. In the case of Rowley and the example that I gave as an opposition, it was one that is self-serving, and I think Ms. Arima rightly considered to be domestic, meaning that nobody is not affected outside of Trinidad to also agree with him in 2015. He alone concocted that. And now, if they had acted on it, they would have made themselves an institutional ass. Because 3 years later, it was Gary Griffith's turn as Commissioner of Police to say that Rowley write them things for himself, manufacture them things for himself, put it in the parliament, the highest forum in the country, and therefore disrespected not just the parliament, but is a real candidate for treason, having of course accused a sitting prime minister, whether it's in the parliament and therefore protection of speech there or outside, accused a sitting prime minister of conspiring with members of her cabinet to kill someone, whether it's a journalist or not. But a journalist even much more significant, because in the Western world, the fourth estate, which of course is the media, people don't make joke with that, because they are the ones to keep everybody else in line. Let's go back to the lines again. Let's see if we get that caller. A pleasant good night, welcome.
A pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox. Sorry to interrupt you in the middle of your
handheld. You on the handheld device. So hold on, please. I got this one on the system before. Yes. Okay. No. But I have another caller on the system line. Go ahead, Mr. Faizabad.
Good evening, Mr. Lennox, and to all your listeners.
Yes.
Mr. Lennox, I want to be brutal one time.
Yes, go ahead.
And no mercy.
That's right. You should be angry, man. Yeah.
Because you see, when Andy, right?
Yes.
And you and I had vented on the program on the radio station, our good friend, Ambassador Extraordinaire, said that we are tarnishing the image. But what I want to tell you tonight, Mr. Lennox, Jason Ali, right?
Mm-hmm.
The councillor for Sipara West Faizabad, right? They had selected and they formed the executive of the Faizabad arm of the constituency office, right?
Yes.
Removing the present mayor executive at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Denat Meru. After that come, I want anybody in the party in Faizabad constituency and Sipara Corporation to challenge me, Mr. Faizabad, already know me, right? Because Jason get to realize, right? And Parry and them, the screening committee at the UNC had put up the screening. Jason wanted to go up as the next candidate for Faizabad. Right? And he had sent his signal on the executive saying that he wanted to be screened for the Faizabad seat as the alternative. When they didn't get it, Paré and the rest of them start to say that election is squad.
Only made a request for election observers from CARICOM.
In June month.
June 4th, 2015.
The
Following
party
is the
would
text
start
of
up
his
a
letter to
constitution
CARICOM
and
Secretary
party
General.
if they will call their own on
H.E.
time. Access for it and asking the membership. All they know that all of our internal election, hoping that they would get in Kufa head office as the new committee of the executive of the National Congress, United National Congress. Now, what I want to say to Jason Ali, right? Apparently, greediness, greediness, right? And opportunity to get, right? After he hoodwinked the people who vote for him, how do you hope he know that Franklin Khan's son, right?
Yes.
Will be our next candidate to screen for the Faizabad seat.
All right.
And you and I just talk, I've been brutal tonight, me and you just talk. What do you think of your view that a person like Franklin Khan's son putting his hat in the ring for Faizabad? You think Jason Ali will stand a chance to make it in Balize house to screen? To just smoke screen he? That's what they'll do. Let's just say they give him an opportunity.
Yeah, well, yes, of course.
So
I've experienced that with a candidate that I orchestrated to put up for a seat in several years ago in Laventille, and it was just a token, but just to accommodate, just to say that she was screened. But at the end of the day, they had the people, and of course, they just put them in. So that is stereotypical. Go ahead.
Right. So we understand the politics of the PNM.
Yes.
So now they will use it. But they'll pay $500,000 for a UNC candidate and members.
Oh, yeah, right? They are now poaching rapidly.
Right.
With a greediness unprecedented.
Right. And what Shagwanas is, I feel like I got him talk in Parliament in the Senate. He got him talk and say name fully. What is his name? Give yourself a round of applause for that. Because, and you notice now, the race baiting, right?
Yes.
They start looking for the East Indian Senate plane to put them all over. So I want to let some of the PNM supporters who listen to this program, right? After Jindal and our next Indian company come and take the panyard in City and the bedrooms of the East Indian businessmen from India and outside. Is it now? I want to ask a question. Is the PNM is a East Indian party or African based only?
All right. Okay, well, we have another caller that's been waiting for some time. So maybe if you can call back, you could truncate what you have to say, and you can call back. Let me get this other caller who has been waiting for some time. Professor, good night. Thank you very much, of course, Mr. Faizabad. Good night.
President, good night. You all, locally, San Diego, internationally.
Yes.
I just want to say that, when a prime minister comes on national TV and Facebook and talk about, people who haven't money in the bank supposed to spend, I would want to know who is he speaking about. All right? Is it those president family and so on who have been gifted with certain contracts? Like the bus guy, the oil man, and so on.
Yes.
Or is it? But how can you tell? an individual who has worked his life in a public service, saved, built his little income and, you know, a nice house and so on.
Yes, his safety net, if you want to call that. Yes, his nest egg. Yeah.
That, hey, invest, come now. And $500 billion in words works up to $500,000 million in 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
Where the money gone?
Exactly, $500 billion. Yes.
Yeah, and this is what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago with respect to mismanagement, the crime situation,
yes,
the unavailability of a lot of things, yeah, corruption to the core. And you are coming in national television and telling people and on Facebook and so on, hey, and they're clapping, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right? It disturbs me individually. It disturbs me. I don't know how many people it disturbs. But I'm telling you, sir, this is not right. This is not good for our country. All right? You have the Prime Minister goes way and way on. And I'm telling you, I'll be 70 years next year and I've seen the worst Prime Minister that we ever had.
Yeah.
In Trinidad and Tobago, with respect to decorum, you know, his words being expressed all the time with a sort of anger and vociferously, and then you see the hate being created.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you guys, you know, I've studied this thing. The man will be coming with something they call a race code, which was used in the past to interfere with the lower part of the triangle. You know the triangle, what is it, right?
Yes. You have an apex and you have two flat sides. Yeah.
Down. So you have destroyed the middle class, right? You have destroyed that. And everybody is down there like that. You have come with everything with the gas rise, you know, the price of diesel and every single thing, and people can't wake up to these things, my brother. Yeah? I'm crying right now. Listen up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you guys, people are coming to my office over, you know, book grants and so on. I told them a counselor can't get book
Where you calling
grants.
from? Where you calling from?
Well, my name is Nasser Hussein, the counselor for San Randy Northwest.
Oh, all right, good, great. I just want to let people know that we have celebrity in the house, so to speak. Go ahead.
No celebrity.
Well, I must flatter you a little bit. In other words, you prefer to say a hard worker. But go ahead, my friend. Yes.
Yeah, man. Between you and I, my brother, let me tell you something now. I am on the ground. I'm telling you, people are crying out.
Yes. We too. We are getting here.
How much can you take?
Right, different center.
You have people lines running Boabandi, right?
Yes.
Boabandi, right?
Yes.
No water.
Yes.
Certain parts of Blake Avenue, etc. No water.
Mm-hmm.
Lines running.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Forest Drive, Unity Drive, Upper Boabandi, and these people are suffering and are calling me every Thursday is my day. And here now, apart from that, nationally speaking,
yes,
we are not looking good in the international world.
That's right.
Right? Why? You have a prime minister appealing to his supporters, right, and clapping all the time. They're clapping every single thing he says without thinking of what they're clapping for.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's the intention, you know. That's the intention, to ambush them so that out of decorum and out of respect, they will clap when, of course, the signal is given. So we understand the game. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you this, you know, my brother. Tuco Sangre Grande is a marginal figure.
Right.
All right?
Yes.
And we know for a fact that the man will come with that. And I'm telling, I've seen it through the years where they come on evenings in black tinted vehicles, mornings and evenings, right?
Yes.
And give out a little $500. But I'm telling people now, they're insulting you all.
Right.
How and why? telling you spend $100 per year to deal with electricity, water, lights, and so on. But I'm telling the people now, yes, take the money, but vote Kamala back in power. This best years we ever had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
man.
don't want to get angry, bro.
I hear you.
Because I will reach to certain languages.
Yeah. Don't get emotional so as to expose your subterranean undercoat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there are many other things that I can tell you about.
Yes.
You understand? So when you the Sangani Regional Corporation is controlled by the UNC, right?
Yes.
And you know, when there are things called allocation, right? Releases that. There's a last one. You're not going to release the funds.
Yes.
Yeah? You're not releasing the funds, and then you want to blame us. Yeah? And then you're coming now and talking about, the corporation has so much money and so on. But if it's not used,
but now that we have you on the line, I just want to ask you one question that was, of course, a major issue during the course of the local government elections last year, forced upon the government by the Privy Council. Let's not waste time, otherwise the election would have been held sometime in March this year. Now, what are your views? Because the basis for their campaign would have been property tax to, of course, provide greater facilitation and resources to the corporations. What has happened with that? Was it just a political gimmick that some people got caught with again? Because it seems as though Sanghi Grandi appears to be the place where he would normally go to give these phantasmagorical statements, such as that of the banana and the monkey. It was his last campaign meeting in the 2020 elections when he made that revelation that, of course, bamboozled persons in the southwestern peninsula, Labre, Point 14, and so on, and of course hoodwink the people into forgetting that it's he who plunged them into poverty. So my question to you is, what about the reform, and how has there been any improvement, or has there been a deterioration after the election now?
All right. Okay. Straightforward. I would say it's a failure.
Okay.
I would say that was an election gimmick.
All right.
And so far, nothing has been played.
Yes.
Nothing has been
played. We know it's a rhetorical question, but we have to ask it so people like yourself who are in the system will be able to tell us better than if you were not in the system like us. But go ahead.
Right. So it means to say that all right, I said again, nothing is in place. Nothing has been done except for, the normal thing, appointments.
Yeah, one of the mill, yes. They give you your allocations.
Right?
Yeah.
And would you believe they have tried so many times? They opened the Sainglani Hospital with a lot of glamour, a lot of food and so on, and so on. And some months ago, and not one bed has been occupied.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is the sort of thing there have been people.
Yeah, camouflagery and showmanship, theatrics. Yeah.
We have the and you see the thing is now like the fire station, right? The fire station has been built by the UNC.
Yes.
And if you see the deplorable state is right now with the effect of painting, you have also the indoor facility on Ojo Road, right? The UNC built that under Anil Roberts and so on, as sports minister and so on. Not one. So why are they doing these things to people? Compared to the big high school. So
the evidence on my side is very, very clear, and I'm sure it is coming to the realization of others that this is a conspirators bunch of criminals who have acquired government by any means necessary, including maligning and, of course, bearing false witness against their opponents to gain the office that they have. Now that they are there, they are so damn incompetent but so focused as well on lining their own pockets, family, friends, and through nepotism and cronyism, that they have lost their way and unable to manage anything. Everything that they pursue has collapsed.
Exactly. I mean, bro. I mean, I won't say so, but I'm saying it. Look at the situation we can. Look at the mismanagement of the. Look at the the programs. Look at what is happening with respect to people. Would you believe that we in Sangrandi, in that Sangrandi Regional Corporation, have not had any releases?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. It was just a mama guy, just a camouflage, just a charade to fool the people. Full stop.
Releases, a person, a resident could work hard for their money and purchase,
yes,
something, purchase, the books and whatever. I'm very, very disappointed though. Right?
Yeah. Well, why is that disappointment may be a generic statement, but let's face it, people like myself are not surprised. It's a bunch of con men and women that has acquired. Well, thank you very much, of course, for your intervention. I know that others would want to absorb what you have said, your responses and your concerns, and I'm sure that it's going to be reflected in some of the calls that we will have subsequently.
And would you believe the same thing is happening in the Komodo area?
Everywhere, including let's say electoral districts that are dominated by the PNM. It's just that they are so suicidal that they have this warped sense of loyalty that they prefer to die rather than talk out. But that is the essence of a failed state. But those of us who are conscious like you and I must, of course, pick up the gauntlet and take the responsibility to save Trinidad and Tobago.
I thank you very much for listening to me.
Yes, I thank you for calling. Bye-bye. Yes, indeed. Of course, that was one of the councillors in the Toko Sangre Grande area. In fact, of course, I want to say the Sangre Grande Corporation, and he thought it important, of course, to make his presence felt by expressing his concerns. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you or have you evaluate what he has said, because he said that is a dire situation. It is shambolic, it is destructive, it is deteriorating rapidly, and that the pauperization seemed to be institutionalized by the Rowley administration. But of course, as promised earlier, you see something on the screen where Rowley's name is being disclosed or displayed. Well, yes, the PNM political leader, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, has formally. Well, listen to this, and then you'll get an appreciation as to what transpired. As I said, I agree with Miss Arima. I'd like to call her Miss Venezuela, in that she is absolutely correct that we cannot afford to be in a situation. We can't afford to be in a situation where all of us would want to have a trepidation or fear to engage international agencies and institutions, as the opposition has been doing, in order to, of course, highlight the iniquities of the Rowley government, contrary to protocols consequential of conventions and agreements that they would have been signatory to as part of the world nation, or should I say, as part of a nation in the world and part of the United Nations. Let me see if I can get it now. I'm getting some difficulty there. Why? Let's see. Bam. I just had it there. It was functioning nicely. All right, so we got it back. But listen to this.
PNM political leader Dr. Keith Rowley has formally made a request for election observers from CARICOM. June 4, 2015. Following is the text of his letter to CARICOM Secretary General. H.E. Ambassador Erwin Laroque. Secretary General. Caribbean Community, CARICOM, Secretariat. Turkian. Greater Georgetown. Guyana.
Just in case, of course, you may not have been following, but this is the letter that was sent by Dr. Rowley to, of course, the CARICOM Secretariat and the Commonwealth Secretariat on the question of the conduct of the government of Kamala Prasad Bisesa. All of it majorly would have been lies, but in his turn at the wicket, so to speak, we have a different situation where the entire country has been betrayed, and there's a need, of course, for CARICOM and the OS to make an intervention in real terms, because it is simply unacceptable and untenable. Let's go to the lines before we continue with that letter from Rowley to the secretariats, expressing his concern and calling for international observers, which he has refused, not once, not twice, but it appears that it is part and parcel of his forte to deceive and to stay in office illegitimately. A pleasant good night.
Hey, LENNOX, good night.
Good night to you.
Yeah, you hear me good?
Loud and clear, my friend.
Right. I want to talk about Lawrence Dupree.
Go ahead.
I listened to two WhatsApp today. One from Assam and one from Carlos John. Assam blistered them, boy. He blistered them all who trying to see him talk good about Dupree right
PNM
now.
political leader Dr. Keith Rowley has formally made a...
hypocrites. And he correct, eh? Carlos John talked too. He said he never had nothing with Pandy in London with flats and all this thing. All that was a setup. Well, we know that.
Yes.
But Assam let them have it good. And I want to say this. I don't know what gets into Dupree. So after Ramesh Maharaj, he case the handle boy. A man who helped to bring up Pandy. And you must know from the time he support the UNC that they're going to come after him.
Yes.
So, Manin and Kishera and Posey. Remember Posey, the central bank governor, right?
Yes.
Right. You used to run along in school and squeeze you up until you call him Posey, you know.
Okay.
I never let him squeeze me because I never tell you, I say, but I never called you nothing.
I hear you.
But I hear you, and you're out now too. When you do wrong thing, you must pay LENNOX.
Of course. There's always, I always say that. The evil you do must follow you.
And I want to let them know. You might all of them set up Dupree, you know.
Yeah.
And whoever advised him to go to Manin and them, she was ill-advised. Oh, God. You have all that intelligence, you know where you're getting it, man? Eh?
Yeah, but I suppose if I'm to speculate, I don't have I'm not privy to the information in details, but if I have to speculate, I'm sure that Dupree and they could not have imagined that a conglomerate the size of Clico and the parent company, the size, yes, that any government would want to mash it up as Rowley did. No businessman could have entertained that, because it was simply too big to fail, and therefore the government had a duty. But boy, Rowley and them make a havoc.
Yeah. To show them that Dupree business was the biggest business this part of the world, as big as any United States.
Yeah, making Trinidad proud to have such high level entrepreneurs to, of course, do businesses in other countries, including the United States.
That's right.
Yeah.
But he should have known once he go against them, we go come after him.
Yeah.
And if he was ill-advised, why he went to them?
Well, now I'm saying he should have known, but I could see why he did that, because he couldn't believe that Rowley and the PNM would have orchestrated for the demise of him and that conglomerate.
Go
ahead.
That project Dupree was doing United States.
Uh-huh.
When Wall Street crash.
Yes.
Right? People just forget about that. The world went crazy, you know.
Yeah.
Obama and Tony Blair and all them started to say we had to start over.
Yeah, but
When they had the Wall Street crash.
yeah, that happened, and Rowley and they see that as an opportunity, and when they got the turn at the wheel, decided, of course, to opportunistically or parasitically
Right.
fire sale the people and them thing, and generate a paradigm shift. But because they didn't build it, and because they don't know, just as how I boast all over the place. If you were not the originator, you know the inventor, how the hell you could execute? And we see now where even that fund that they created by depositing some of the companies, including of course Angostura and even the Republic Bank, we've seen that it didn't make a profit.
I had called on a program and they said they want to start over, right?
Yes.
I said start over. Are they gone mad? Where is the starting point? Are they born and media economic system?
Yes.
What stupidness are they talking about?
Yeah, don't mind them, man. That is only talk. They didn't know the arm from the elbow.
Well, you see
Yeah.
it, your arm, but we know it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Right? So boy, Assam spoke so nice about Uvri today. And I'm sorry I get out WhatsApp.
No problem. I'll find it in due course once it is sufficiently important.
Carlos John.
All right.
But what contact with Uvri?
Yeah, I'm going to find it because I'm sure that there are people who will be very concerned and emotional about all of this. Yeah.
I mean, them, LENNOX, you know them doing anything.
Yeah.
And all of them want to take his place.
Yes.
Even the road, that mall road, he built all that, you know.
Yeah. I know. You tell me that. That's just hard work, boy, and dedication, boy. And headquarters in Trinidad. I mean, this thing was going beyond what anybody expected. And Rowley and they, myopic as they are, incompetent as they are, opportunistic as they are, would just go and take and destroy typical parasites.
Yes, Castle Charles talking hard out in the parliament.
Yeah, typical parasites.
But you see all of them was involved in that, enough.
Yeah, talking about this 1% and the rich must get richer and all that kind of nonsense. But ain't working for it. Look at Warner. Look at Warner. Artificial wealth. Ain't work at blasted place only because you're connected to the PNM and connected to this Prime Minister. The dredge sealers fail. They give you endless, what I consider to be boulder or quarry material, land or real estate. All of that they did. You ain't work for that. But that is Dr. Rowley's example of an entrepreneur coming from Tobago and competing with people like Junior Sammy and who worked very hard. I mean, he's not my favorite, but Junior Sammy, Namalco, and all the others who work very hard to get where they are. You artificially utilizing your position and state resources to catapult someone into the arena and then see them as good Africans who can compete with the others. Haul your tail. Go ahead, my friend. Yeah.
The bound to pay, boy.
Of course.
The bound to pay for what they do pray.
Of course. Have to pay.
End up
yeah.
in a facility, they say, in St. James, you know that?
Where? Which part?
A facility in St. James.
In St. James, Dupre? I didn't know he was in the country. All right.
You forget him, tell him to come back here, otherwise you extradite him.
Oh, yes. I remember that, yes.
But the only facility I know is medical complex, you know.
Yeah. All right. Let me play Rowley's letter to the Secretary.
I see Rowley writing to international observers.
Yeah, for international in before the 2015 elections. But today, as Prime Minister, he is an autocrat. He's an anti-democrat. He don't want no observers because he wants to thief the elections.
But all of them ask
That
for
and God's
fry.
face he will not see.
All of them ask for fry for what they do.
Of course, the ass is grasses. Yes, my friend. Later.
I know.
Okay, bye-bye. Yes, people, let's get to that letter because it's important. But as I said, there's a distinction, as Ms. Arima quaintly pointed out, that the situation today is different from then because this was purely domestic politics that Rowley put on the international agenda. His international agenda by, of course, communicating with these people to have international observers here. Imagine that. And today, as Prime Minister, you are saying, no, blatantly, I'm not going to do it. So it can only mean that you wanted to be where Kamala and they were, and then, of course, not do what you would have been asking them to do, and that is to say to bring international observers. But listen carefully, people.
PNM political leader Dr. Keith Rowley has formally made a request for election observers from CARICOM.
What's the date? The
2015.
4th of June, 2015.
Following is the text of his letter to CARICOM's Secretary General. H.E. Ambassador Erwin Laroque. Secretary General. Caribbean Community, CARICOM, Secretariat. Turkian. Greater Georgetown. Guyana. Dear Ambassador. The People's National Movement, hereinafter referred to as the PNM, is the oldest political party in Trinidad and Tobago, having been founded by Dr. Eric Williams in the year 1956. The PNM currently occupies 13 of the 41 seats in the House of Representatives, and is the official opposition in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. The People's Partnership is a political alliance of the United National Congress, the Congress of the People, the Tobago Organization of the People, and the National Joint Action Committee. This alliance presently forms the government of Trinidad and Tobago, having succeeded at the polls in the general elections held on May 24, 2010. Since forming the government, the People's Partnership has continuously demonstrated a reckless disregard for the principles of good governance, and no respect whatsoever for the many institutions created and developed over time to ensure that citizens are properly served and protected. As the general election approaches, which is constitutionally due no later than September 17, 2015, this government has also embarked upon blatant schemes designed to utilize state resources to induce, relocate, and or instill fear in voters, in a concerted effort to better its own chances at the polls.
What's happening today?
The PNM is therefore deeply concerned that proper monitoring is required for the 2015 general elections to ensure that the entire process is conducted freely and fairly. The following brief examination of this government's record over the last five years no doubt provides the proper foundation for the aforementioned concerns, which regrettably, it has now become necessary to bring to the attention of CARICOM. 1. This government, on coming into office in the year 2010, terminated or refused to renew the contracts of the vast majority of persons employed by the previous administration on contract without any regard to performance and the requirements of the entities in which they were employed. 2. In January 2011, this government appointed a technical operator with strong links to senior government officials, over several other senior and unquestionably better qualified individuals, to the position of Director of the Strategic Intelligence Agency, that is, as the head of this country's security intelligence agency. This appointment, along with the termination of many highly qualified and long-serving members of the intelligence agency, came after correspondence was sent to the Prime Minister by a senior police officer, bypassing the Commissioner of Police, merely alleging without any evidence in support that certain persons had allegiances to the PNM.
Now I want to pause there and let us look briefly at the at point 1 and point 2 that he advanced to the Secretariat of the CARICOM and that of the Commonwealth Secretariat. Here it is, he is claiming that when the UNC took over office, that people were fired. Oh God, Rowley, why you're so blasted dangerous, you will understand why the man is the existential threat to the existence of Trinidad and Tobago today. You see in others that which is in you. You wanted to do that. Look how many people suffered, and those who you selected, like that of Grand Bay. Grand Bay, you give them $5 million US and say that that is to support their employees, not knowing that 5 years later, after the 2020 elections, the same Grand Bay was used by the EBC to effectively destroy ballot papers, etc., by claiming that they were hired. Grand Bay was hired a paper factory to recycle these items, so that effectively you have destroyed, they conspired to destroy the evidence that an independent observer team would have wanted in order to check and to verify the outcome of the 2020 general election. It was correct for Kamala Persad-Bissessar not to accept the results immediately after that poll. This letter, of course, ratifies Rowley's true intention. And of course, here it is. The second item, he's talking about what? About the Rishmi affair. Yes, that's what he's talking about. Failing to tell the blasted people in his letter as if the matter was not resolved, because that is what his intention was, as if the people are stupid and they go take you on with the nonsense and his arsness. Immediately when the matter came to the attention of Kamala Persad-Bissessar, she simply fired the girl. There was no damage to Trinidad and Tobago. But he, in his pervert, obnoxious, evil and diabolical intent to conduct and thinking, bring that up in a letter to the Secretariat, arguing, of course, for what? For, of all things, now that we know who he is, of all things, for international independent observers in 2015, in his letter of June 2015. Let's continue.
3. This government caused a state of emergency to be declared on August 23, 2011, which lasted for approximately 4 months without any proper justification pursuant to the Constitution for so doing. Over 400 citizens were arrested, of which only 50% or thereabouts were charged, and to date, there has been not one successful prosecution arising out of this act. 4. In November 2011, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service arrested several members of the Muslim faith on the basis that there was a plot to assassinate the Prime Minister and other senior government officials. To date, despite the arrests, no evidence to support this purported plot has been disclosed, and no charges have been laid with respect to the citizens who were arrested.
So just imagine that, people. You see, the old people, they have a saying that the hole you dig unjustifiably for your enemy, you may well live to fall in it. So very recently, Rowley claimed that the SSA was plotting to overthrow his government. And some time ago, just a carnival period, he said that a Muslim group was planning to, of course, subversive conduct and unleashed, of course, the police into those mosques and so on in El Socorro and other places in order to discover such a plot. But no evidence. He just told us that. And today, with respect to the former, that is to say, the SSA plot to overthrow his government, they're now negotiating. They're now negotiating the release of these people because they have threatened to take them to court, and the outcome will clearly be embarrassing for them because the victims, the claim by Rowley, in other words, had no basis. But he, in 2015, before the 2015 general elections, was claiming that Kamala and they concocted an assassination. But of course, assassination is par for the course as far as Rowley is concerned. When he was, of course, campaigning in 2015 and he went to Tobago in the market square, he said that, listen, not only some people are saying that he's too black to be the head of the PNM and therefore Prime Minister, but also that there is a plot to kill him. He said so. Today he comes with these phantasmagorical stories in a different form, being of course a prime minister, and you don't understand that we know and we understand that you are displaying a typical psychological condition where you see in others that which is in you, and you're paying the blasted price, and more than that, in the fullness of time and in the efflux of time.
5. This government attempted in March 2013 to pass the Miscellaneous Provisions, Defense and Police Complaints, Bill 2013. The objective of this bill was to give police powers to the defense force, without the necessary countervailing protection provisions which govern the police service in Trinidad and Tobago, i.e. the creation of soldier police. 6. This government, without any public consultation, and a mere month.
So imagine he was opposed to soldier police because at the time there was a proposal to, of course, give a precept to police so that they can, of course, instead of accompanying police, normal police officers, they can now engage in their own investigations with, of course, the appropriate training and additional training. What is happening today? What is happening today? I leave that up to your own conscience. Let's continue.
Before the local government elections of October 2013, amended the Municipal Corporations Act to introduce the system of proportional representation into the local government electoral system of Trinidad and Tobago for the election of aldermen. 7. This government, again without any public consultation, attempted to introduce midway through the campaign for the Tobago House of Assembly elections, the Constitutional Amendment, Tobago, Bill 2012, to provide for internal self-government for Tobago. 8.
Let us look at those last two. That would have been 6 and 7, clause 6 and 7 of Rowley's letter to the secretariats, the Commonwealth Secretariat, and that of the CARICOM, asking for essentially independent observers back in 2015, before the 2015 elections, and castigating, damaging, if they had taken him serious, letter to them. So he opposed to what? To constitutional reform or amendment to the Municipal Corporations Act, which today he's benefiting, because where the PNM would not have had a chance to have an alderman, today they are claiming alderman like wildfire, especially of course in the Diego Martin Corporation. But he wrote to the secretariats in his quest for independent observers and telling them that that was a wrong conduct. And more than that, the Tobago Amendment Bill, which was far more advantageous to Tobago under the UNC, because the UNC clearly, by their very conduct and their non-presence in Tobago as a political entity, as one to contest Tobago, clearly anybody with a modicum of common sense would have known that they were the ones to give Tobago as much self-internal government as possible. The PNM traditionally, and Rowley had demonstrated that, and if he had won the Tobago House of Assembly, you make a joke. Now he tongue twist now, but it should remain permanently twist. It shouldn't be just abstract. It shouldn't only be in the form of a thought, but it should be literal. It shouldn't be only figurative. It should be literal. That rapscallion and nasty man. Today now, I'm telling you, just as how we open up the country to the Venezuelans after all the iniquities that he would have done in order to write. And when he went and get those 2 boats, after all the iniquities that he would have wanted to write with those boats and mash up the economy of Tobago. After all of those nastiness, he then comes now and looking for sympathy. Well, I have always said, and he reminds me of Farmer Oak Dog. You ever say, I say, Rowley reminds me of Farmer Oak Dog. If you read Far From the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy, I think it's the second chapter, you would see, of course, where Farmer Oak, a sheep farmer, just bought a herd of sheep, invested, and he had 2 sheepdogs. He had 2 sheepdogs. Remember, of course, students, the plural of sheep is sheep. So if you miss it, calling sheep, but ought to have been in the plural is because plural of sheep is sheep. So he had 2 sheepdogs. And guess what? One day, the smaller of the 2, less experienced, drive the entire herd off a precipice and into, of course, their deaths at the bottom. And then, of course, believing that he did his job so well, the dog, believing he did his work so well, when Farmer Oak arrived on the scene, moved to tears possibly, extremely irritated, deeply concerned that he's facing ruin because he just invested. And this dog sent all of his investment off a precipice in the form of sheep. And the dog comes wagging its tail and looking for a bone. That's Rowley. But more than that, Farmer Oak conveniently had a shotgun on him. And as the dog wiggled and looked for, of course, appreciation and reward for what he did, well, Farmer Oak cracked the gun and bow. And that was the end of it. Well, Rowley reminds me of Farmer Oak dog. That's the dog he reminds me of. You do all this damage and still want us, you still want us to be sympathetic to you for doing us harm, pain, ache, agony, destruction. And you want to stay there? Man, to hell with you, Rowley, and your co-conspirators and destroyers. Farmer Oak dog time for all you, boy. All you remind me of Farmer Oak dog, all you. So it's plural here. So let's continue, of course, with Rowley's letter. But it's important, of course, to make these interjections so we be as graphic as possible, because we must be angry. We must be angry. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Yes.
Lennox.
Hey.
Lennox, boy, I had to call back.
Many people.
Again, McClare, you getting any problems with the
No,
device?
none at all. None at all tonight.
All right. Let me give all you this one. All you got ball tonight. You see the east, I was telling you about the eastern part?
Yes.
Of the country next door, we?
Yes.
It have a part they call Sucre. Sucre is the last end, where you have to go down in the Gulf to reach there.
Okay.
Gulf of Paria, you head west.
Yeah.
A given direction to where we live in.
Right.
They call down the Guidia, and after Guidia, it have Carupano.
Okay.
Down on that end, the people pour down. They don't have no industries. It's just the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And they just do trade. They used to have illegal trade with here. Right?
Good.
They trade in anything, animals. You know, people used to get catch selling animals.
Yeah. With the pirogues and so on. Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Right. So when they went down there in 2018 and they danced the dragon dance, I just call it the dragon dance.
Yeah, it's appropriate, because it's the oil.
Who are them, who behind who whining behind who.
Yeah.
So they
Dragon
was
dance.
doing when they do the dragon dance, when he go down there and the man treat him like a king, come to meet a king, red carpet, palace guards and red guard, all this kind of thing, right? He get confused and dotage because he never expect. So if you see dotage, the young man tell him that state and other states like Tocopita, they need development. Tocopita of the Orinoco is to the southern part of this country. He say them end states need development. So let us do a fish trade. I repeated myself because I was telling all these things, right? And people didn't catch him, but they will understand now. So he tell him that we have a fish trade. That's what they call it, fish trade.
Yes.
But they trade in anything. He said to legalize it instead of having this kind of contraband. So they signed paper with Dylan and we that, you know, the thing opened up so that we could make a profit with trade and thing with our boatmen. We don't want to say fishermen, it's boatmen. Right.
Boatmen, okay.
Paula Scopi School was there. She signed paper with 4 governors, right? From the eastern part. It has Sucre. Right? Nueva Esparta, which is Margarita. Then it have Answategi, all of them place. But Answategi need no development. That is the tourist hub.
Okay.
But they still could do the thing. So this is why they just have them come in here, Pototo every day, whole night. They come in on jetty and south, they come in jetty and Karanaj, Chagaramas here.
Yes.
So he shake his head, all of them agree to that. The 4 governors come in here and it have one. She name call and all kind of thing over there. She's the bad girl for down in Tocopita.
Yes.
She's the governor for there. I want to ask Paula Gopi School if she know the bad girl, the kind of fat woman with the big face. Her name is Yedixa Santa Aya. She's a gangster girl. She them calling and all kind of thing of the Orinoco River. Right? You see that Paula Gopi School? That is the snake in the valley, see. We don't talk about she, nobody don't say nothing about she, but she they quiet. She responsible for that trade where she signed with them as trade minister. Right? I repeating again, the gang man tell him he gonna help him protect the border. He did tell Camilla that too, you know, that same song he sang to Rowley about legalizing and having free trade with this boat thing. She didn't do it. That time he come when she was in power. He come to beg she for black disinfect and toilet paper to help out with trade with that and other little things. But I could remember the black disinfect he wanted, toilet paper, and just imagine he want bags for cement. Right? So them only want to leak we out here however you take it. When they dance the dragon dance, they didn't make plan to invest in we culture with we steel band and blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know how they're doing that. I could only assume they want to invest in down to we carnival. Them people doing all kind of secret thing and leaking this country. They had a big excitement too for the natural gas thing blow up and kill people. People ain't got no money. People dead in pipeline. People ain't got no money. People dead like knitting pipeline. I ain't saying nothing again. All I will keep saying when I call this program, let us protest. And as I always say, we have to take him out with full force. We can't put we head on a block with no general election. This man is to come out with full force. Protest, and let the opposition attack him with diplomacy in the Organization of America. This place coming like Haiti. And if these people have to step in, like how they step in Venezuela, call meeting because of the amount of killings that taken place in this country with the gun violence, where he blame America for the guns and ammunition we're coming in here, and he's not doing anything about it. Too much people dying in this country on a daily basis, and they could step in and is going to attack the opposition as well. They could see to form an interim government inside of here. We don't want that. We don't want that. Because when they put in an interim government, it's them that be picking, and them will make all the decisions. We don't follow, this country could get sanctioned up. So we have to save ourselves from sanctions. Right? We done living as though we living in sanction. So let me take the chance, because we know to eat dal, rice, bhaji. We know to eat stew potato with rice and pepper. I'm talking about the black people. We could stew a potato good and eat it with a little pepper and drink a little light lemon juice. We know to live. Them Venezuelans, they know how to live if it has sanction in here. And if they stay here, dog go eat with supper. The type of food we could eat and live, them don't know to cook it. And who living with them know that they cannot cook like us and say amen with a little dal, rice, and bhaji. No, no, no. Right? So if sanction come here and them in here, I said, dog go eat with supper. This is why I'm talking so, because I'm seeing all kind of thing, you know. I'm seeing it. Okay, Lennox.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. Good night to you as well. And of course, I know that heed are being taken, and that is no far-fetched talk. Is obvious that common sense will tell you that if you destroy the economy, if you have a bad foreign policy, if it is that your economy is stuttering on the brink of collapse, then of course the inevitability of what the caller just described is real, and therefore we must protect ourselves. We said that clearly that we have a duty and responsibility to wet our own homes, because wet Trinidad and Tobago, in other words, because Rowley and they are playing the ass. They are clearly engaged in activities that are inimical to the interests of the country, and at the same time offending our giant neighbor to the north, or neighbors to the north, mainly Canada and the United States in this hemisphere. And they are the ones that have imposed sanctions on the Venezuelans and making it difficult for them to, the regime at least, to survive. And Trinidad and Tobago, it will be just a very little to do in order to treat Trinidad and Tobago the same way. Because what we have is a government that is prepared to take chances with the country. We have seen it, of course, with with the Delcy Rodriguez matter. We have seen it, of course, with the immediately subsequent too close in proximity for comfort and to suggest that Trinidad and Tobago were not part and parcel of assisting Venezuela in breaching the sanctions imposed. And we can be, of course, vicariously not only be held responsible, but also as a consequence be a victim of what the caller rightly said, sanctions. With respect to that shipment of fuel, they say was headed for Aruba, but ended up, or Margarita, one of those countries, one of those islands, and ended up, of course, in Venezuela. So I don't think Rowley has fooled the Americans. I think they too, in reciprocated style, are toying with him as well. And it's just a matter of time, as she rightly said. And therefore, we must pinch ourselves and we must tell them, get the hell out now. Let's go and see if we could complete this particular letter. If not, we'll complete tomorrow. I see we are already, of course, 5 minutes before 10 o'clock. We always say that we'll take 1 hour, but it appears that the standard thing is 2 hours and more. But let's see how far we can reach. We have reached the 8th clause of Rowley's letter to the Commonwealth Secretariat and the CARICOM Secretariat on asking as opposition leader in 2015. The letter is dated June of 2015, asking for international observers to come to Trinidad, and these arguments that he has advanced clearly We know now this is a concoction and figment of his very pernicious and prolific imagination. But we need to say it so that we could hate as much as we can more this administration and Rowley in particular for putting us through this harrowing experience. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Hey, LENNOX Smith. Pleasant good night to you and everybody on the live.
Pleasant good night to you as well. Night. Yes.
LENNOX.
Yes.
I want to tell Miss Arima something. If there's one thing, you see she statement we should have been making here.
Yes.
I one person that's take it very seriously. Because you know why? When you observe things playing out before you and in question it, or you decide to question it, and the answers you just be getting what it is hurt you, you know.
Oh, obviously.
It is hurting down to your soul.
Yeah, the truth does offend you. Mm-hmm.
In 2008,
yeah,
when I first went to Canada and worked on the farm program with the government of Trinidad and Tobago, how ties with Canada government and stuff.
Yes.
When I went and worked with the first time, 2 weeks in that farm program work, my eyes was literally open. And I said to myself, I said, boy, something wrong between Trinidad and Tobago, you know. But at the time, I didn't know what it was. So over a few years, you know, I started sit down. When I'm back in Trinidad, I started sit down and I watching Trinidad and Tobago. I said, but something wrong between this country, boy. And then just in recent past, it come to me. About 3 years ago, it come to me. We called here. We were alive here. And I was telling some people, as if I had my way, I get rid of shitting carnival in this country. And you know now, just 2 weeks ago, I heard on different programs where people saying, when they pay attention and they're watching how black people livelihood is, the music, rum, and line. And that is what they're focusing on, party. Who planning for boat ride and this and that. And I say, look at that. All these years I've been saying we is our own downfall because we now people are productivity. Everything for we is our fete and our lime and our party. We celebrating we not supposed to celebrate. You understand? Mm-hmm. So when I hear Mr. Arima talk what chat, I just say, boy, these people and them not spiritually awakened to the reality that they're living in today.
Yeah.
And based on the things that I see, my father always used to say, if the way how Trinidad and Tobago is going, that was back then, that was about 10 years ago. He said, if we ain't careful the way how we live our life in this country, we're going to end up worse than Haiti, you know. And I see this thing playing out today. It's playing out.
Yeah.
These people and them in this country, especially black people, they're not educated enough to understand what's taking place. That is why we only get to down and say the people of so-called Trinidad, I want to believe it's the PNM people you're talking to are stupid. Because it's them you're talking to. When you watch Shogunas, I watch Shogunas East Sunday coming from Port of Spain. Shogunas is like one of them places and they might visit in Canada. Big malls and stuff, shopping complex. And when you go in Port of Spain, the damn place like a dump. Even in Sando, places were controlled by the PNM, the places and then like a big dump, point forward, the place like a dump. They have nothing going on in these places with the PNM control. These PNM don't have no kind of vision for development in this place. It's only to take from the poor and give to the rich. LENNOX. Locked on and listening. I am vexed here tonight. I'm not tuning, but locked on and listening.
Yes, that is the intention. And if you are vexed, it means that I have achieved my objective here because we're going to be vexed until election day, whenever it is called. That is the intent. That is the foray. That is the modus operandi. Because we must be having regard to the betrayal, the perfidious conduct of this administration. And you are quite right. Only tonight, in fact, I asked my little son because I saw the basketball court lit. And I know that I was instrumental in the establishment of that basketball court just between George and Nelson Streets, and of course but the entrance would be on Prince Street. Those of you who know the geography and the area. And I saw the lights on, and a lot of young people gather around on the court, obviously playing whether it's basketball or football. And I asked the question, when was that light instituted? Because don't matter what, even when my friend across the road, Gabriel Dada, he will be invited from time to time to be with me in the night. A gentleman that I consider to be an exemplar. One that I orchestrated to have him get a scholarship to go to India to study, of course, entrepreneurial development, and to come back and to stay in the community, which in fact he did, and sharing his knowledge, of course, free of charge at the expense of the Indian government in such a situation. And of course, I'm planning the same thing with others now that I am back in this part of the city and the country. But after we concluded that we established the basketball court, it never had lights since in Kamla time. You ever say 9 years ago? Try as we may to have TNTech, of course, assist us in at least putting in a meter and to do the final, what I consider to be things that are required to lit up, because we had already erected the lights, the spotlights and the other at tremendous expense, but we couldn't, not for hell, get a TNTech connection. And my son had to tell me that about a week or so ago, these lights were finally connected and put to use by the youths of the area. And I say so because of what the last caller said. The PNM engaged, of course, in these what I consider to be entertainment, sporting, and community camaraderie sweat. Comparatively speaking, small money with no, of course, plans for sustainability, because it's always ephemeral, always temporary. And so this will last for a few months, and then you see nobody attending or nobody there, and then of course the light bill itself might be choked up, and then TNTech come back and cut the lights. But I suspect that this will remain until whenever the elections are called, and after the elections, TNTech will come in, because TNTech will be beseeched not to do anything but to, of course, try to deflect attention away from the drudgery and the poverty and the lack of direction, the lack of vision, and of course the gang warfare and so on. And don't be surprised if that is not done in other communities, that you may attract drive-by shootings in such circumstances. That's how it is done. But the way how we constructed that particular facility on Prince Street, it was designed to acknowledge that, so that there's what is called foundation block to the height of almost the height of the basketball poles, so that it will be very difficult for someone to drive by and shoot, because you will be first, and you'll be shooting at concrete blocks that are of a foundation nature, so they are larger than the normal blocks and much more stronger, as distinct from what they left and delivered at Desperados just down the road on Nelson Street. A total wire fence that exposes everybody inside for a drive-by shooting. Not even that they could have thought of to protect, of course, knowing full well what the area gives for the time being, until we are able, of course, to generate the attitudinal change so that these young people with these high power and not so high powered weapons would not be able to discharge them and put life and limb in danger. But as I said, Rowley and they are like Farmer Oak Dog. I don't want you to forget that story at all. They did their work so well, as the dog did, that the dog had to be shot. I'm not saying to shoot them, but I'm making the analogy. I am making, of course, the relationship where that they must demit office, not by the bullet, but by the ballot. I will not advocate bullet, but the ballot. So nobody can accuse me of promoting violence or sedition, as of course our friend from Canada, the YouTuber, found himself at the wrong end of the DPP's, should I say, pen, in terms of charges of sedition that were preferred against him. Nebulous, stupid, does not put Trinidad and Tobago in a good light, and in fact, it has encouraged more YouTubers who are concerned with instances like this, gang warfare, etc., to come to Trinidad as a major place where they can, of course, improve their likes and their views. The minimum to the something 1,000 persons, and of course at maximum I've seen, I think about 200,000 persons across the globe looking at Trinidad and Tobago in this negative light. But that is Rowley and they did the work so well that they had to be shot. Of course, I'm talking figuratively. That being as it may, let's continue, of course, with Rowley's letter to the various secretariats asking for what? For observers before the 2015 general elections. And that letter was penned in June of that year. The elections was in September subsequently.
2013 ST. Joseph by-election, this government's candidate for that seat, with the open support of this government, campaigned by taking personal credit for the issuance of certificates of comfort with respect to state-owned lands in the constituency, as well as the commencement of several infrastructural projects also in the constituency, all of which occurred just prior to that by-election.
Let's pause here, because it is ad nauseum, it is sickening for Rowley to have been penning that, because once again, he sees in others that which is in him. So there were so much projects unbudgeted for being delivered to Tobago, unbudgeted for, apart from his unilateral and utilizing his tenuous number in the parliament, 22 seats, to add 3 seats into the Tobago House of Assembly. And projects like Peas, 50 million so, for the rehabilitation of tourism assets, hotels, bed and breakfast facilities, and another 50 million again close to the elections, with 15 seats now at stake unilaterally. And roads, I was there, and I saw when one was now finished, the paint still fresh, and of course the PDP was arguing that, listen, they're so bold-faced, they paint the wall red. Of course, when we went there, it was something like red, but it wasn't really red. But nonetheless, I suppose the idea was to make it look as close as possible to red, even though it is not red, so that you will know it's the P&M did it. A huge wall. Drains are being constructed. Yes, roads are being refurbished. And after the election, when they got the licking of their life, as they will get in Trinidad and Tobago in the next general elections, Unicut simply, after they did not achieve their objective as they rightfully ought not to have, and the abuse of state resources in that way, they went back and take back the money and stop the projects that were not yet finished prior to the elections. But here it is, back in 2015, Rowley is so concerned about projects in the by-election of St. Joseph, and they are saying first became a parliamentarian. Yes. Yes. He was so concerned that the UNC focused in St. Joseph and several development and infrastructural projects. But he thinks nothing of it because it's he who is doing it, that rapscallion, that evil man. And Lingua is the recent example. And today, the people in Lingua, PNM having won the elections, and of course, questionably in the sense that the UNC ought to have won it, but because of the internal fallout of the internal elections, and no doubt that the PNM planned these elections to coincide with the proximity of the internal battle that was raging by certain fractions within the UNC. And so people became disenchanted and did not go out to at least not have the PNM gain the kind of victory in terms of the numbers that they would have had. I say under normal circumstance, the PNM would have catch their ass to win that Lingua seat. But the point I'm making is, one set of promises, infrastructure like peas going on, people were getting jobs. And as soon as the exercise was finished, only last week, fiery protest for bad roads. I feel I should end here, people. We will continue, of course, with the ninth clause of Rowley asking for international independent observers back in 2015 in his letter of June of that year to these institutions, begging for observers as opposition leader. As opposition leader. That is important. As opposition leader. Today, the opposition leader, current, asking for independent observers, and he as Prime Minister blatantly saying no. And he's on record, so there is no getting away. There are some things you simply cannot escape. Figures, numbers, history and experience cannot get away. So he cannot say that somebody is lying on him and that he did not say what I am saying that he said. And all of you know that. The rapscallion that he is. Farmer Oak dog that he has turned out to be, he and his minions. People, of course, we have come to the end of tonight's exercise. We will continue, of course, with Clause 9 tomorrow night. And don't forget, of course, tomorrow morning, the Ground Report, Andy and myself. Let's hope we wouldn't get the technical issues with respect to real media and what I consider to be headquarters of the Ground Report. As we continue, of course, with these, and we continue, of course, to be angry. Our irascibility must not have any boundary. And indeed, our choleric propensity must also be never tempered until, of course, the elections. Yes, of never be tempered. No. Of course, don't forget, people, of course, we back to school is in 2 weeks' time. We have had some resources. We have gotten, of course, some assistance from our traditional assistant. I want to thank, of course, the Mohammed in Sawa, Mohammed Bookstores for, of course, accommodating some of the book list and furnishing the contents therein. I want to publicly, of course, say thanks to that particular company, entrepreneur, who, of course, make it his duty to assist us every year. But, of course, there's need for more assistance. And therefore, if you wish, you can call the 337-6940 number. I don't think the other one is working. Let's take this final call. Oh, the other one is working. I understand. So that 336-6594 is working. So you can call that number, and my assistant will, of course, accommodate you any time of the day, any hour of the day, Monday to Monday, meaning 8 days a week. Professor, good night. Welcome.
LENNOX, I don't want to stay too long.
Go ahead.
LENNOX,
Yes.
So that letter we're paying all day.
Yes.
The opposition can't use that letter against you only for them to bring international observers in the country.
Well, of course, because he is on record as well. Apart from this being a record, he is on record saying that he will not. So therefore, of course, that is the kind of argument that places like the OS and the State Department of the United States will want to listen to, including, of course, arms of the United Nations. Yes, so his ass is grass. He has boxed himself into a position where there's no way he can escape. And as I said, the only outcome with this for him is that he has to have an outcome similar to Farmer Oak Dog. Yes, he did his work so disastrously that he had to be expelled and eliminated.
But basically,
yeah.
But LENNOX,
yes.
Basically, he fall in his own pit too.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm saying. He has dug his own pit. Oh, what a tango web we weave when we first set out to deceive. That is what he is subjected to. Whether he could call it likoto, he could call it jumbi, he could call it necromancy, he could call it, of course, voodoo. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that it has come its full course, and therefore he must be making his exit.
Well, LENNOX, let me say this before I go.
Go ahead.
2025 come quick. I use my toes and not to vote out this man and all to when the time comes.
Yes, indeed. All of us, my friend. So people, of course, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless, and don't forget, of course, that tomorrow morning we will continue, of course, with these and other issues as we, of course, extrapolate and, of course, expose the evil that is, of course, the Rowley administration. That being as it may, let us, of course, come to the usual end by, of course, sort of a musical interlude. Let's hear this one.
tongue to them political boss, who the people trust and get double cross. You're an obstacle to be removed at any cost. Oh, a social conscience is really very dangerous to your health. The awesome strength of the powers that be most certainly will be felt. To tell them that their priorities and performances on the par. It's poetic to hear them describe to you who you are. First of all, you're a megalomaniac, a power seeker, a crazy or a crack, troublemaker. And if you tell them that the economy is no longer in full bloom, then you become a prophet of doom and gloom.
They call me the witch doctor from a land afar, specialized in OBR. The real name is Papa Bois. When the drums begin